Welcome to This Explainer. From the absolute moment we first step into a classroom, we're essentially conditioned for one primary task in life: to get a job. Schools meticulously teach us the mechanics of earning a paycheck, but they rarely, if ever, teach us how to build actual wealth. Today, we're going to look at the architecture of financial freedom.
What if everything you've been taught about becoming wealthy is incomplete? Think about the reality of our world for a second. Millions of people spend decades working incredibly hard, literally sacrificing their time, their health, and their energy. And yet, only a very, very small percentage ever achieve true financial freedom. There's this profound systemic disconnect between sheer efforts and actual financial outcome. But the truth about the ultra-wealthy is actually quite stark. It is not a secret. There's no hidden, locked vault of knowledge guarded by billionaires that you just aren't allowed to access. It is also not a shortcut. True wealth has absolutely nothing to do with getting lucky, picking the perfect lottery ticket, or stumbling into some random get-rich-quick scheme.
It is, quite simply, a system. Okay, let's dive into this, because once you actually understand the mechanics of the system, you are never going to look at money, your career, or your future the exact same way again.
Section 1. The illusion of income. Why salary doesn't equal wealth.
And this brilliantly illustrates our first point. We're conditioned to believe a high salary guarantees wealth, right? But consider two people who earn the exact same paycheck, literally down to the penny. The spender takes that income and immediately upgrades their lifestyle, financing a better car, a bigger house, designer clothes, just to make sure everyone else knows they're making money. But the investor? They take a predetermined portion of that exact same paycheck and quietly invest it before doing anything else. Years later, their financial futures are going to look completely different, not because of how much they earned, but based solely on what they chose to do after they got paid. Income starts the journey. Habits determine the destination. Really let that sit with you for a moment. Income is merely the starting line. It's necessary for sure, but it is not the end goal. If your habits are flawed, a higher income just means you're going to make much, much more expensive mistakes. Section 2. The real wealth formula, moving beyond just saving. So here is the actual blueprint, laid out in 5 deliberate steps. Step 1, income. Step 2, save. Step 3, invest. Step 4, grow. And step 5, repeat. Look really closely at this progression. See, most people in the middle class make it to step 2. They earn and they save. But a standard savings account is honestly just a waiting room for your money, where inflation silently destroys your purchasing power year after year. The wealthy don't stop there. They systematically push through to step 3. They invest, they allow the capital to grow, and they ruthlessly, consistently repeat the cycle. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how, instead of buying things that lose value the moment they're purchased, the wealthy channel their capital into productive assets. We're talking businesses, stocks, real estate, and broad index funds. These are entities that naturally produce value, goods or services. And when you buy a productive asset, a fundamental shift happens in your life. Your money begins working while you sleep. Every single dollar you invest in those assets becomes a tireless employee. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, with the sole purpose of generating future income for you. And it does this completely independent of your active physical labor.
Section 3. The power of compounding, planting the financial tree.
It's basically like planting a giant tree. In the first 12 months, the growth is agonizingly slow. You're watering the soil, planting the seed, and, well, nothing dramatic seems to happen. It can feel really frustrating. In years 1 through 9, you start seeing a steady build. It's a sapling, it's growing, but it's still relatively small. But then you hit years 10 to 20, and you experience true exponential growth. The tree suddenly explodes in size. Small, consistent investments compound over decades into a massive, unshakable financial fortress. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of compounding. The key isn't starting with a lot of money. It's starting early and staying consistent. Time is the true secret ingredient here. You don't need a massive windfall to become wealthy. You just need to give whatever capital you have the decades it requires to multiply.
Section 4. Multiple streams of income. Building financial resilience. Let's move to and see how this builds into aggressively protecting that wealth.
Financially successful people absolutely refuse to rely on a single source of income.
or frankly, a single boss's good mood. Instead, they spread their earnings out across multiple streams. Alongside a main career, they build dividends from investments, maybe profits from a side business, monthly cash flow from rental properties, or passive royalties from digital products. Now, the goal of all these multiple streams isn't just to be able to buy more luxury goods. The goal is financial resilience. By reducing your dependence on any single paycheck, you ensure absolute stability. If the economy turns or if one income source suddenly disappears, you have a diversified safety net that simply cannot be broken. Section 5. The discipline of wealth, the formula anyone can learn. The true challenge of this entire system isn't understanding the math. The math is honestly easy. The real challenge is having the discipline to make these consistent decisions day in and out. You must consciously choose to spend less than you earn. You have to continue learning about money and markets. You have to invest wisely, avoiding the temptation of rapid speculation. You need to be incredibly patient. And above all, you must allow time to do its work. So the crucial point is, building wealth isn't about luck. It's about discipline. The earlier you begin practicing these habits, the more time your money has to grow and permanently transform your life. This formula is proven. It's a system sitting right in front of us. And yet, why do most people stay broke forever? Well, the answer is deeply psychological, and it is exactly what we're going to uncover in our next explainer. We'll see you then.